have the, they say that's the town board meeting Thursday, right? Is that the 22nd? Oh, no, I'm
No,
ahead of
it's next
myself.
week.
12th. No, it's this week.
Yes,
honestly,
it's
It's
12.
this
It's
week,
this
yeah.
week.
I don't know if I'm.
Have you had time to,
I think Emily's
Oh,
all
bummer.
set, she's got the green light on now.
Oh,
Okay,
she's-
folks, we're on camera now.
all right,
oh.
We're on.
folks? We'll get started. All right, at 5:07 PM, I'm gonna call this meeting to order. And the first order of business is I need a motion to consider the proposed agenda.
Make a motion.
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, so the proposed agenda is live. And we also need to approve the minutes, meeting of May 20th, 2019, resolution 3019. So give me a motion for that, please.
Make a motion. Second.
Second. Any questions, changes, additions? Okay, all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, the minutes are approved. Obviously, that's been a long time before we approved those minutes, but it brings up that for a lot of reasons, with summer, with little, action on applicants and whatnot, and, just a series of events, this is our first real meeting since then, is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna try to, catch up with a lot of things that need to be done, that while they aren't necessarily part of our main objectives, they are very important to the running of this organization. So as we go through, you'll see that. There are no presentations, is that correct, Tracy?
That's correct.
Any correspondence?
No, sir.
Okay. So, Mr. Treasurer, the treasurer's report, please.
Cash in the checking account, People's United Bank checking account as of August 31st, 2019 was $107,000, 56 and 10 cents. Investments, on August 21st, 2019, a municipal money market account was opened in the amount of $140,000, bearing interest with an annual rate of 1.75%. A 180-day municipal certificate of deposit was also opened in the amount of $30,000, bearing interest at an annual rate of 2%. Revenues for the month of August 2019 include interest earnings of $79.53. Expenses paid for the month of August 2019 total $13,363.82. Motion to,
Okay, please, you'll make the motion?
Make the
Suppose
motion.
we,
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
all right, any, discussion? Any questions? Everybody's comfortable with it? Okay. All those in favor, aye? Anybody opposed? All right, the treasurer's report, the IDA is approved. So now we're on to committee reports. Audit, there's none? We're clear on that, or do we have an audit down the road?
Yeah, we finished one in the spring and we're good. So, well, actually, the auditors did increase their fee, which you'll see in the budget, but, that will start at the beginning of the year.
Didn't go down, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Didn't go down?
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Governance report,
Yes.
thank you.
So the governance committee met on June 24th, at which time we conducted our annual review for project compliance and follow-up, and continued to review agency policies and procedures. We discussed an amendment to administrative fees to reflect the need to cover administrative costs in the event of any future clawback processes. We discussed the New York State Paid Family Leave Act and how it affects us and the potential impact on the agency. And we also reviewed the town's harassment policy and its suitability and applicability to the agency, and talked about identifying resources for implementation of the policy. We have one resolution this evening related to the administrative fees that we'll ask the board to consider. We are recommending that the board consider the implementation of that administrative fee for any future clawback procedures that we may need to undertake. As of right now, no one would have to pay any administrative fees if we had to go through all that work of clawing back any benefits.
So if a project is
Oh,
found in
right.
default,
Gotcha,
and we have to
Yep.
proceed with the
Mhm.
process,
understood,
there was no,
understood.
compensation for the agency to go through all that, so that's what that was implemented for,
So the
or will be implemented for.
Right.
the governance committee has, approved that?
We have recommended that the full board approve and adopt
We're talking about,
that.
resolution 3419?
Correct.
And, we are still working on other policies that were discussed at that meeting, and will be coming forward at
Right.
future meetings with additional resolutions for consideration by the full board.
There was an amended draft of the statement of board,
Responsibilities, right.
that the governance committee will need to meet again and review.
So that's the report.
Okay, thank you very much, Lori. And, the next one is finance committee meeting.
Can I interrupt for 1 second?
Sure.
I think I stuck a draft of the governance committee meeting minutes in your packet, but I just saw
You
mine,
did, yeah.
and it was not complete, so just make sure you have, that it's adjourned at the bottom. So I need to send you the rest of it, and it's not printed out.
Okay.
So there's more, I will email that to you, okay? Sorry about that.
Page 2.
Yeah, yes, page 2.
Will be forthcoming. All right. All right, so on to the finance committee meeting.
So you wanna recess this meeting?
Yes,
Recess
we've-
the regular meeting?
We've had a little difficulty in putting this meeting together, so we're gonna do it here since we've got everybody available. So, give me a motion to recess the, IDA meeting.
I'll make the motion to
Second.
recess.
Okay, all those in favor, aye? And now I need a motion to open the finance committee meeting.
Motion. Second.
Who was that?
Jim, you got
And Bob.
second?
Okay, got it.
All those in favor, aye? All right.
So you have copies of your the draft budget, you've all received copies of the draft budget. There was minor changes since the first initial draft that included more accurate numbers because we received them. Instead of, we got the estimated New York State retirement, we've got the estimated healthcare and something else. So they've been amended to reflect that, and there were no other comments.
Okay. Then it was approved.
Well, that's what
Oh,
we're.
This is what we're gonna do now.
Yeah, the committee needs to, recommend the adoption or the,
Am I the chair
approval
of,
of it to.
am I the chair of that committee? Or Bob?
Bob, I think Bob's the chair.
Would you make a motion to, for the committee to
To
approve that?
recommend the budget
Yes.
to the board for
Yes.
approval.
Second. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Jim? Okay, Jim.
Thank you.
Great. And then you just close that?
Is this, listed under new business?
Yes,
It will,
it will
yeah.
be, but we
Okay.
need to close out the finance committee meeting first.
Okay, so, finance committee has been done, now I need a motion to close.
Motion closed. Second.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Okay. That's done.
And then reopen the regular.
I'll make a motion to reopen.
Second.
All right, all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
All right, we're into, back into the IDA meeting. That old business. The first consideration is Resolution 3219, authorizing endorsements for the depository.
So interestingly enough, when we went to the bank to open up those new accounts, their cards were really outdated for whatever reason. They still had, Lou and Dawn on the signature cards, so we need to officially remove them and then continue on with our designated people as well as add Jim.
And that's all in here, yes.
So the first one is for our regular operating accounts.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Second, Bob. Any discussion? All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Okay. That's passed. Then we need to consider Resolution 3319, ratifies the authorization of transfer of funds and endorsements.
So this one, opens those two new accounts, and it designates only two other people in the interest of, transparency or,
Checks and
balances.
Good.
It will be Denise Cooper and the treasurer. So I will not have control of this account, I have control of the operating account, and that should give us some level of checks and balances.
And that's okay under the
Yes.
rules and regulations.
Mhm.
All right, any questions? Any thoughts? All right. I forgot, have we opened
Tony?
this?
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
Tony just motioned.
Thank you.
I'll second.
All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Thank you. The next one is consideration of resolution 3619.
34,
No,
34.
excuse me, missed one.
Wishful thinking, not brush your head.
Yeah. 3419.
3419, yes.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
This is for the agency fee, and the only amendment is on the very end of the fee schedule, which is the recapture fee, which will be 10% of the recapture amount, assessed on the amount determined to be recaptured.
Okay. Any discussion? Further? Okay. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
All right, that motion is carried. That resolution is done. All right, 3519 is a resolution authorizing collective grant app and contracting with Discover Long Island, oh yes. I need a motion, to open that,
I'll make the motion.
Second.
second.
There's a lot of communication back and forth, these are lengthy resolutions, but everybody's on board, everybody's actually already signed, they were way ahead of us, all the agencies in Discover Long Island. And there's actually a meeting tomorrow afternoon at 3 o'clock, I'll be calling in.
Okay,
And so we'll get this hopefully off the ground and start marketing altogether.
So the grant application will be submitted upon receipt of this by the Suffolk County IDA?
Correct.
Yeah.
good question.
Correct.
Okay, and then we wait to see if we got the grant, and then if
Correct.
so, then we are part of the matching funds that
Correct.
will, right.
Mhm.
I think it's an exciting project.
I think so too, I'm very excited. Everybody's very excited.
Good.
It's just another level of how the agencies are working together.
Right, for the regional.
Yeah.
Perspective, good.
Anything else? All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, the resolution is carried. New business D. Get that right?
Nope, you're on C.
I'm having trouble with these glasses. I think
You wanna
I got an old
switch?
bear. No, not that bad, I'll just hold
Wanna
it
try-
closer.
Wanna try these?
Yeah.
C, 3619.
All right, 3619, resolution authorizing bond allocation transfer to Suffolk County IDA.
I will make the motion.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
again, this was another great effort of all the agencies working together to support a project in Brookhaven, to allocate all our unused bond allocation to them versus returning it to the state. And I gave you a full packet in your,
Mhm. Any questions? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, that resolution is carried. I think I got it now. F.
D.
Oh, that's another one, proposed budget. Excuse me, but I'm gonna have to retire these glasses. My eyes, one or the other. A consideration of, proposed budget, oh yes, for 2020. Give me a motion to open that.
I'll give you a motion.
Thank you. Second.
Second.
Any questions on that budget? Well, hold on, I think I do. No, I was still looking for 2019. All right, I don't have any questions. Anybody else? All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
All right, that resolution is carried. And consideration of a personal evaluation and contract, you can take the tentative out and discuss it. Did you pass that out?
I passed out the resolution.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Does it have a number?
It does,
3819.
Thank you. Why don't you describe this, Tracy, since it's you and I who
annually,
discuss
it is incumbent upon me to do a self-evaluation, submit to the governance committee for review. The governance committee then, does a review of the evaluation, they meet, they review it, and then they provide feedback to me, not only about how they believe I did for the previous year, but also, goals for the upcoming year, and that was completed. And then I typically meet with the chairman and we discuss, and, we amend the contract appropriately.
Just as a refresher, she does her self-evaluation, and then we look at it and decide, whether we're okay with that. That's the governance committee. And then I do an evaluation from our point of view as to what we think. And usually what happens is Tracy understandably covers everything. We extract what we think. When I say we, because then I asked the governance committee if they felt comfortable, they wanted to make any changes, they were fine with that. And because we haven't put everything into my evaluation for Tracy, into that evaluation, we include that copy of her self-evaluation with the whole thing. So it becomes a package, and that was approved. I'm trying to remember, I should have brought the information, but I forgot. Has everybody got a copy of that evaluation? I thought so. So that's been approved, and the other thing which we'll discuss, but not at the moment, is salary changes, if any. So we'll do that at the end of the meeting. We'll go into executive session.
Okay,
Won't take long, but
okay.
so I'll handle that. All right. So I need a motion to make that personal evaluation. The contract, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot that. So the contract is a contract of employment, is that the correct word?
Sure, so if you wanna just reserve that for after the,
Yes.
discussion at the
Yes.
executive session for personnel
So
matters.
we'll go over that at the same time.
I'll just alert the person operating the equipment that there'll be an executive session.
At the end, yeah. Thank you. All right. So, the board still has to do that officially, right?
Yeah, that they have to authorize you
You
to
only have to come
execute-
back in
execute
session?
it.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Sure, yeah, I'll
Yes,
give you my
we'll
report.
do that, and then we'll, go to executive session.
So,
Tracy?
one thing I wanted to mention was there's been recent press over the last month or two, that I just wanted to review with the board.
Sure.
One particular inaccurate article from Newsday was regarding the aquarium. I don't know if I sent it or if you saw it, but I was rather taken back at the gross misrepresentation, published.
Excuse me, have you all seen that? It's a
Yes.
Newsday article?
Yes.
This last month,
Yeah, it's probably 3-4 weeks old now.
right.
Because I spent significant time providing specific information regarding the project and the process. And I want to mention it because this type of reporting causes a significant misrepresentation of the total benefit back to the community. It spins a message that exemptions comprise tax revenue that the community was already benefiting from, when in fact, the tax revenue is new to them, as you all know, and paced in. So, the amount of taxes paid by Atlantis during the stated time frame far exceeded $3 million, contrary to the reported $886,000 that they stated.
You gave them that number?
I gave them, I
3
gave them,
million?
yes.
Okay.
The project
It's just for the record, I know you did.
Yes.
I wanted to hear it. Okay.
The project created close to 450 jobs during peak season, but the agency is only eligible to report 250, given the way the project is in Paris, right? So, I had also given him that information and spelled that out. And he also mentioned in the article that Atlantis did not pay full property taxes ever, but they did when they purchased the property. And they never paid less than what the property was generating prior to them purchasing it. So, I just wanted that out there in the public in case anybody had seen it and questioned why, or questions you.
I have a question on that.
Yeah.
Good.
Did you ask them, for a retraction?
I did not, I did.
That's part of the discussion.
Oh.
So it's appropriate that you just said that.
Yeah.
Because one of the questions I had, well, what are we gonna do about it? Because what you have here is you got a rather significant distortion, not intentionally ever, sure, but by mistake, let's be kind, that, looks like Atlantis has gotten away with murder, so to speak, and that's just not true. It's not fair to them. It's also not fair to us as the IDA, the Riverhead. So, your question, what do we do about this?
Well, I mean, I would absolutely, for the record, ask, send them the information that is incorrect and ask for a retraction. Put them on notice for the
So,
record.
For a correction at least.
Or a correction.
Because we're willing to stand by
Sure.
the correct numbers, so.
Absolutely.
Any other thoughts?
The corrections paragraph is this level.
Yeah,
And
it's-
and it'll
it's
be
true,
like
it's one of the
weeks on it,
problems.
I mean, it's just a
It's-
shame
it's a
that.
matter-
Page 17,
Right.
I know.
It's a
Yeah.
matter of principle.
This also becomes a
And record.
public record,
Yeah,
we're discussing it.
Exactly.
So,
Or,
a retraction or a letter to the editor. Additionally, I didn't seem to think that it got any traction, so I do kind of weigh that. If something's starting to get momentum, I will go back and use our resources to counteract it, but if it doesn't, I typically say, okay, well, it died. But it's a board decision if you want to write something.
I think with election time coming up this time, I think it's important for us to get that retraction.
Or,
Because
you know,
we're
a
gonna have
correction.
people who don't like this,
Let-
at least.
Let's request a correction, and I think it's important that that's on record, that we pass for a correction. Cause just say, please you didn't refer to this data, we're gonna resubmit it. This is how it should be corrected, please print it. And, I think it's important.
Okay.
but doesn't that also beg the question as to what we should be doing going forward? In the sense that one of the reasons the article comes up is because perhaps we haven't effectively put forward the right numbers ourselves officially, and therefore they're left to their own devices in terms of what they write.
Well, no,
You
I-
gave
I-
him the,
I-
you gave the
Tracy is
interview,
saying-
I
and he
spent
took-
significant time
She did give
giving
you
him
the right
accurate
numbers.
information.
No, but is that PR led by us, or is that something where we just get called about it?
Well, we were one of 3 projects that were the focus of that particular
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
article.
Oh, that was the other thing, he claimed that that it was, that Atlantis was singled out, for a project that was, extended or excessive, exemptions, and that was also not true. The ABO report was, and I have it in writing from ABO, was a randomly chosen projects out of the parish that were supposed to be completed, and they were following up on them. But the way we have Atlantis in the system, it's still reflective because it's a phased project. So that 10-year period that they were reviewing, although that was the first phase of the project continues. So that was also misleading in the article, because it made it sound like they were targeted, and they were not.
well,
So you're
going with what Jim's saying, just give me 1 minute.
My only concern is that, is there a way that you shortcut this happening? In the sense that, are we getting our official numbers out in a channel where, before they can even begin making them up, if you will, they would have to basically look to something that we have issued?
What would you suggest?
I don't know offhand, I'd have to think it through a little bit, but I'm just trying to, so that basically, then when you ask for retraction, it stands because you've put it out in black and white in advance of these things, and you say, what are you doing?
Well, it is-
Writing up
it
this
is,
transaction.
it is
Right, I
there.
think Tracy did that in her response to the reporter.
It's information that's available, so I'm not sure I understand.
So what you're saying is if
Paris
this,
doesn't help.
if I understand what Jim is saying, let's say they never contacted you for information, cause I heard you say, do we have any sort of PR? I don't think anybody's gonna print the story based on us, if I'm understanding you correctly, like giving them numbers. We were responding, they're doing an article, and they were fed the numbers based on their interest in doing this article, correct?
Or
Yeah.
misinterpretation, or misreading, no, all I'm saying is that, first of all, this is not about you.
No, I'm not taking it that way.
This is
Yeah.
about how we make sure that our reporting, it gets out to the public in a way that the press can only pick up the right numbers.
Jim, I wish, in all fairness,
Right.
that was how it worked.
Yeah.
But I can tell you that particular, media outlet refused to even meet with the IDAs
There you
to
go.
put out their story.
That's
They
fine.
have an agenda clearly, and it doesn't matter what information we provide, they're gonna print what they want to print, sadly. So, we do try, and, when you reread the article, you see it at the end of the article, he uses information from the Suffolk County IDA, from the Nassau County IDA, and Riverhead's information he took from the ABO. So, again, Paris has
Right.
different ways of, accepting information, it doesn't take all the information. This particular reporter chose to use the ABO's information versus what I provided to him.
And that's why I'm not sure that you're going to get a retraction.
Right.
Or a
The-
correction,
yeah,
and
the-
so I'd be very cautious
Yeah.
about, arguing with the person who buys ink by the barrel, to quote.
Yeah.
The bottom line on this, from my perspective, is that, it looked good. If Tracy called me and said, hey, we're gonna be interviewed by Newsday about this, so we'll be able to, educate them a little bit, and we can find out what they're saying, and we can get some print on this, which would be good for the public. But it obviously didn't end up that way, because they didn't listen.
And it just.
So, but going to what, our counsel is saying, right now, considering all the intricacies of getting through stuff like Paris and where does this come from, where does that go? I would recommend we just leave it alone.
On this,
But that's
on
only
this
my
one,
opinion.
on this one, I would agree. I've even sent out positive press releases, and
Yeah.
they don't pick them up. So, they won't print them.
They're not looking for positive, nobody is. So is this something that you bring up at the work session? You think it's
Well,
necessary?
actually, at the work session, I thought I would inform the town board that if there's ever any questions, on some of these articles, and I thought I might mention it because it was so negative, and they need to be able to respond, to those, you know, questions from the public. Well, I read this, unfortunately, you know, there's real other numbers behind it, but, which begs to another article that, if you saw that the J. King's sold, right, but it's, J. King's Food Service Professionals sold to Cisco. So of course, my office received information as to, oh, well, did the cider house sell, and et cetera, et cetera. So I just wanted to ensure the board that this is not the same City Cider project is owned by City Cider LLC, House LLC, and the real estate is owned by J. King's Realty, which, was not part of that sale. So there's no, the agency's involvement, is not with Grapes and Greens, and the transaction has no impact on our project. That was other press that was, you know, I just wanted to discuss.
Anything else? At this point, shall we just, let it go, and I would
I
agree that we should
I agree,
bring
we
it up
should let it go.
the way you said at the
They go out of business
workshop,
anyway, yes.
the work session.
Yeah, okay.
Just so they're informed in case it's in the back of their mind also.
But I
And-
wish that the state, the online reporting, the reporting
Mhm.
that's available to reporters
They're
and
being
to the
read.
public
Right.
was better. I
We've,
don't know.
we've brought it up,
I know
at
you
the
have.
conferences with the
Yeah.
comptroller's office, and they don't wanna change the system, and even when ABO came in to do that audit, the auditor, I said to the auditor, I said, you're not taking into consideration all the taxes they pay. We're not concerned with that. We only wanna see the exemption. I go, but an exemption from nothing is nothing. There was no real property tax there to begin with. So you're giving me, you're creating you're taking a number that was created by the project and saying, oh, you're taking that away from the public, which is, it's a misrepresentation of what actually happens, unfortunately.
Yeah, besides not getting a retraction, it's possible that will just, irritate them to the point where they continue to do even more. They being the Newsday organization, they just don't like IDAs. They think we're a bad business. That's an oversimplification, but every time I pick up that paper and has something on IDAs, it's negative. I can't remember one in years. I could be wrong, but
All we can do is continue to give the correct
Right,
information
right.
and do everything we can to educate
Yes.
who's ever calling for the information about where the numbers come from, how
Right.
they're derived, what the impact is. That's all we can do,
Right.
you know? I mean,
I knew there would be passion on this, because there should be. So thank you all for your thoughts. But that's,
it's been going on
probably
for.
where we ought to
It
go.
has been going on since before you were here.
oh gosh, no. Did you say that was the sixties? No.
Oh.
No, it was the seventies, right? You told us?
82.
He was the boy, justice of the peace or something.
82, I think it was.
Okay.
With regard to another project, it came to my attention that the Calverton Addiction Treatment Center project has budget estimate overruns. So Dick and I have been in discussions with them, getting more information on what the project numbers truly are at this point, and once we have definitive information, we can work on how it's going to affect their application, and anticipate inviting them maybe to the next board meeting if it's necessary for an explanation, if that's okay with the board.
Everybody all right with that?
Yeah, the good news is.
The numbers are big, aren't
I
they?
was
Good
gonna
news is they spent more money in Riverhead than they
Yeah,
planned.
they did,
Yeah, we're
the
happy
project
with that.
increased,
We
yeah.
need to have a mechanism to have them amend their application and accept those amended numbers so that the reporting in Paris
Right.
of what the project total cost was is reflective of the actual dollar amounts, not the projected amounts.
Right.
And so it's just sort of a little mini example of the problem you have in reporting to a state agency.
Right, so if it does have a project increase, there is no place other than the comment section to say there, you know, it's a project increase, so the numbers are very skewed to the public. But efforts on behalf of New York State Economic Development Council and the IDAs to change the system, you know, it's like me getting a new website though, you gotta have money, you gotta have someone do the program, so I can understand the plight of the comptroller's office, but it is a problem. On that note of the website, I have one proposal for the updated website from our current web provider. Barry Carlin has been our web provider since I've been here, and he has retired and handed it over to his colleague, who is currently operating our website, but has also given us a proposal for the update. And I've also gotten the contact information for the developer who did the town's website. So I will be reaching out to them to meet with them and see what they can do, and if anybody has any other recommendations for website providers, I'm still looking,
For proposals.
For proposals, right. We sent out the job goal letters. I'm playing phone tag with one of the companies, so as soon as I have them, I'll send them all to the governance committee.
Okay.
There was nothing that we didn't anticipate as far as why, some of the jobs were met but didn't meet them this year, so nothing that is gonna cause alarm or red flags, but it's good information to have in their files as to why they're not at their projections now.
At this point
At
in
this point in
time, when they
time,
have to
right.
report
They
them,
may have met
yes.
them and had met them for the last 5 years, but this year they didn't, for whatever reason, minimum wage, state regulations, who knows. Mid-year sales tax responses have come in, and I'm currently reviewing them to make sure nobody's going to go over, and that they're reporting properly. As a reminder, the LIBDC conference is at the end of this month from the 25th to the 27th.
You're going.
I'm going.
Good.
As of right now, I'm going. I went to another Opportunity Zone seminar, and interestingly enough, if you recall, the previous seminar really focused on the opportunities in the Opportunity Zone with regard to real estate. But the updated regulations have provided a much more attractive use by businesses. So Dawn and I are talking about doing a follow-up seminar, hopefully using the similar people, because they were very engaging and informative on a level that was understandable for the Opportunity Zones. But it was quite interesting, because it was almost opposite of what we had learned before.
Do you have white paper, do you have any information on that?
Might be really long, but
Is it
yeah.
Forward it to me? Be very interested. I know the town, I know that after, in 2020, I know on the real estate, on the investment side, the town will lose 5%, or anybody that invests in this town will lose 5% of their investment.
Well, at the end of the year, they also extended the timelines, on another,
Again?
no, not again, but
Uh-huh.
they've extended them once to
Yeah.
make the investment, and then also the length of time. I think once you've made the investment, you actually had to construct in a certain amount of time, and they've given you, more time to make that 70% increase in improvements. You're probably reading up on it more than anybody. We've generated quite a bit of interest, we get calls at least a few times a month on the Opportunity Zone. So it is,
Has anybody, to your knowledge, made an investment anywhere in the zone
Well,
up to this point?
there have people that have been making investments and looking into making investments, but it's a self-reporting.
Right.
So I don't know who's utilizing the program, unless we have deeper discussions.
Mhm.
But there's been infancy discussions and general interest. Whether they actually pull triggers and use the program, I don't know yet.
Theoretically, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe that if you want to set up a trust, I believe is the correct word, for the Opportunity Zone, you can do that, even though you don't initially have to put money in it. You have an amount of time before you do that,
Okay.
but you have to set it up. And the longer it takes you to get the money in there, the less opportunity you have to eventually maybe get a tax break, a long-term corporate tax, capital gains tax.
I've even had.
But you could set it up and get yourself started. And now, you're looking for stuff, but while you're at it, you create your trust.
I strongly encourage everybody to, anybody, any of the lawyers and accountants that I know were at these seminars, I strongly encourage people to seek them out, because I'm certainly not, proficient at this, and it's not my forte, and nor is it our role, to guide someone on that. So I encourage them to go seek out the professionals that specialize in it.
Mhm.
You should sort of read back a few days in the New York Times. There was a very long article in the New York Times on Opportunity Zones more likely than not, it was Saturday, or last
Sunday.
weekend, Saturday or Sunday.
Yeah, it was
paper.
probably
Business.
Sunday
And,
business.
it was a very interesting discussion about all that.
Mm-hmm.
Not so much about the new rules per se, but as to how these investments are rolling out and where they're rolling out. And I guess the cut and thrust of it would be is that there were some pretty sharp operators in some states who managed to carve already highly designated development areas into the opportunity zones. So big new hotels and that are going up are within opportunity zones and that had already been. So, and the thrust of the article also suggested that these particular pieces of property that had been put into these opportunity zones across the country were attracting most of the opportunity zone investment initially. True or false, I don't know. It's a New York Times report, but I thought that was quite interesting. But what it really underscores, in many ways, is that the critical element for the opportunity zone is to convey to potential investors that the core proposition, independent of opportunity zones, is a really good deal. In the sense that if you're looking at a return that you find marginal, you're not really keen to invest in that, to suggest that the opportunity zone benefits will get you over your investment hurdle rate and comfort is not probably that a viable approach. You've got to demonstrate that the project is really a viable investment project on its own. And then the opportunity zone stuff becomes, if you will, the gravy, that typically will allow you to select that one against, let's say you might have 6 options in 6 towns, and you see that the one in Riverhead has got the opportunity zone attached to it, and then you run for it.
Good point.
So
Very good
that's
point.
really important.
I've also had current property owners who have existing buildings on them that have said, well, because of this, I sent them information on the app zone, they may invest and improve their properties by 7%, which is great.
There's a threshold there for that.
We'll see if it happens. The trans-orientated development plan, I know that the supervisor and Dawn met with VHB, and it's my understanding it will take about 6 months for the plan to be completed. But we are working with the representatives to expedite the data section, which we need for our website, which would have to come first anyway. So as soon as they get that, they'll expedite it to us so that we can use it in the website, in improvements to the website, because that was a big.
Was that the, excuse me, the study that we, partnered
Yes.
with the town
Yes.
in, and we submitted an application to National Grid for a grant? Is that,
Well, no, Dawn did a grant for the TOD development. We supplemented that grant, that study,
right,
together with the grant she applied for.
okay,
Our National Grid grant was for a website to use that data
okay,
from there.
right, okay, so
Ours
this
is
is
separate,
two
right.
separate, right. So did we,
And you
did
were
we hear
aware,
from
we did
National
get,
Grid?
oh yeah, and we did
Okay.
get, I'm
It's been a
forgetting, it's been so
while,
long.
so, yeah.
We got more than we asked for,
Oh, good.
33,000?
So 25?
We got the additional 6 on top of the 25.
Okay.
And that's specifically for,
Web
Website and
development.
marketing,
can I can I make a suggestion? Yeah, okay.
mostly website.
All right. Can you have our guy give us a year's worth of analytics on our website?
Yeah.
I think that would help us determine, if, let's just say there's 100 people looking at our website a year, where the balance is between, website and marketing.
Okay.
Thank you.
When I did sit with them though, they said we have a significant, because of the obligations we have to keep historical information on our website, we have over like 700 pages, which apparently is a lot for a website. I don't know, that's not my, game, but he said, and so it's gonna be pricey because of all the historic, and then of course.
This is required?
Yes.
Yeah.
To keep all this information on
Yes.
your own website and pay for it?
Yeah. And, you know,
And
it's.
now it's, don't they want
Now
it
the
for 5 years?
streaming,
Oh, yeah, they want the streaming and they want the
Okay.
streaming
Right, but I
for 5
think that
years.
we are okay with the streaming and it being kept on the towns. I'm certain that that's fine. We don't actually have to put it on ours, cause that will be really expensive also. But I think as long as there's a link, my thought is, a link from
Right.
ours to the
To
town,
them.
that, and
We just have to make sure though that
stays on.
it
for-
meets that 5-year requirement. If in fact, I don't know that that's been adopted yet, has
Yeah,
it
the,
been
yeah, the
adopted?
governor signed that, the streaming into.
Oh, yes,
into-
that's right, yes. So
Yeah.
we just have to make sure.
It's really hard for some of the upstate,
Oh, I'm sure.
agencies that are tiny like us, and they don't have resources, and they don't even have
Yeah.
wire, like, they go to remote locations too, it's,
Tracy, another
Tough
thing,
call on
can
the
we,
regular-
can we find out what the, what the memory requirement is on those 700 pages? You know, what that's taking up in terms of memory? And also, do we have a cloud account, you know, attached to our website,
yeah, we were on his.
run his cloud? And so what's he charging us a month for that? Oh, it's in here?
We get an annual bill, and, it's, I don't wanna say off the top of my
Okay,
head.
no, we don't do that right
Do
now,
we-
but those would help.
Do we effectively charge the projects that we support and approve, for these ongoing costs? I mean,
Well,
I'm
that's
not.
part of our
administrative.
administrative fee.
It's just the core fee, so that core fee in effect has a present value number related
That's
to
an
what it
excellent
costs.
question. It
related
may have to
what
go
it
up
costs
again.
of web storage, cause in my mind, there's 2 ways of running that, either you charge it in the admin fee, or you say, by the way, there's gonna be an annual fee of X, to support our reporting requirements.
We
That what?
did increase the fees to the companies
Try to adjust that.
when, you know, as the requirements have been
Yeah.
being piled on.
Yeah.
We did have to implement the compliance fee,
Yeah.
which was raised last year, and we also just raised, some of our fees. We raised our fee this past year also, but there's no specific increase as a result of that. I think we'd have to, do a little work to see what our costs are.
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to do a line item analysis so we could understand what are ongoing costs related to all that, and then basically roll it back into what the charge should be for that, and see whether we come out ahead or behind. And maybe take the stress off of us on that one.
Good thought.
And we, as you also may have read in the paper, the G2D development was submitted for not variance. That's the luxury apartments
G2D.
downtown.
Oh, yeah.
So they'll be forthcoming with an application probably within the next month. And that is, I also sat through an ABO ethics training, which was one of the purposes for the top page in your packet. The 3 main points they drove home were the board's fiduciary responsibility, defining a public authority. The 3 most important points were that the board member signs the acknowledgement of fiduciary duty when taking the oath of office, which you all do, and to know the mission and authority's purpose. Coincidentally, Lori sent me an article on, some ideas by a law firm that said, I think it was a law firm, that said you should remind the board of the mission and the purpose before each meeting or every so often, so I thought I'd put that on the top of your, to remind you of what your mission and purpose is. And then, the third one was maintaining confidentiality and divulging any conflicts of interest. The board should recognize what the values are, who the stakeholders are, and how they can attain their mission. It also, reviewed the main identifiers of being independent. The most important were not employed by the town for the prior 2 years, not being a lobbyist, no contracts with the municipality. We should create a conflicts of interest policy. We have internal control policy, which you had asked me for, but I know we have one, I just can't find it. The board should have 3 committees, as we're aware. good reminder of how to, and when to remove board members from the Paris, and some other
Remove board members from the parish?
Well,
That's
the
the
timing, because
three-year
it always,
rule?
it always becomes a timing issue with the Paris, when you're supposed to, you know, are they still a member? Well, they were a member in December, but they're not now, so do you put them in for this year or not year?
Right.
And then they mentioned that performance measures will vary depending on the purpose and the size of the agency. And we should appoint an ethics officer, which we're going to handle.
Yes,
And that's about it.
okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
All
Now
right,
you
so
wanna-
let's,
You wanna recess, right?
close the meeting, not entirely, just for now.
Recess?
That's the word, recess, thank you.
Can you take one?
So, give me a motion to recess the
I'll make the motion
The
to
IDA meeting?
recess.
Second.
second.
It's
All's in
5:58.
favor, aye?
Aye.
And
Lori
then,
and Jim?
Yeah.
Okay.
And you just have to state the purpose is to go into executive session for personnel matter.
Mhm. All right, so now we're gonna go into executive session on a personnel matter. I need a motion
To open, right?
to open.
To open, I'll make the motion to open.
Second.
Close the meeting, let her turn off the machine first.
Okay.
It's gonna take a minute.
Yeah, thanks.
I'll be the one, Tracy will leave the room.
Yep, yep.
Yeah.
and then we close at
Okay, she's got it back
Okay,
running.
we're on.
6:08. Me and
All
Tony
right, so now that we have, closed the executive session, we wanna reopen the, IDA board meeting,
The light's not on.
so I need a motion to do that.
Oh,
I'll
great.
move.
Tony,
Second,
Second.
all those in favor? Aye?
aye.
And the order of business is, the resolution that was discussed before,
3819.
3819. And I'd like a motion to entertain that.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Second? Any further discussion? All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Okay, the resolution is approved.
Sorry, who was that?
Me and Bob.
Bob.
Yeah.
And, unless there's other business, Tracy?
No.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Yes, second?
Second.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Time is?
6:11.
Thanks, folks.
LDC?
No, it's your LDC.
Yes.
I always forget that.
It'll be quick.
I
It'll
think
be
I do
quick.
that purposely.
I gotta find it.
but I-
Okay, she's back on.
Okay.
I'm calling to order now the Economic Job Development Corporation meeting at
6:12.
6:12 PM. And I need a motion to adopt the proposed agenda.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
You got it?
Yes.
I also need to have a motion to approve the minutes, which are the meeting of March 25th, 2019.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Any discussion?
No.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Okay, that's covered. And the treasurer's report? Got a copy? Good.
Okay, the cash balance in People's United Bank checking account as of August 31st, 2019. Wait a minute, right? Was it $107,000? No. Oh, I'm sorry. I take that back. The LDC activity, interest earned on the account was 4 cents. The balance in the LDC account at August 31st, 2019 was $502.32. And a motion to approve the LDC treasurer's report.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
It's approved.
Okay. Let's go spend that 4 cents.
But then we're on to committee reports. Voted none, government's done. Finance committee,
You
how do we
need
handle
to-
that?
You need to recess this meeting, go into a finance committee meeting, and do the same as we did for the IDA.
I'll make a motion to recess the Economic Job Development Corporation meeting.
Second.
All those in favor, aye?
High school.
Aye.
Okay, now we're going to reopen for the
Open finance,
Economic Development Job Corporation,
finance
Job
committee.
Development, the Finance Committee meeting. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Motion.
Do the lights on?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'll
on? Bob
No,
Kern?
it's been
No,
on.
it's been on.
Oh, okay. Bob Kern, motion to open, and who seconded? Finance Committee? Jim?
Sure, second.
Good.
Ruby.
All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
You have that really extensive budget that was provided, there were no comments?
It's a $0 budget.
Yes.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
right.
I love that budget.
Yes, yes.
All right.
Understand that.
So if it's, if the,
Motion to approve that budget,
I'll move it.
Second?
all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Okay, it's approved.
Close this meeting.
mhm,
All right, nothing more is here, old business, new business,
Nope.
close that meeting, close the Finance Committee meeting? You motioned,
I
Tony?
motion.
Second.
And Jim seconded. Okay, that was at 6:16.
all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
Good. Now reopen regular LEC.
I'll make
No,
a motion to
anyways.
open.
Thanks.
Second.
Second, all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Okay,
I make a motion.
that's it, so let's close the,
Right.
don't
No,
be
you have
seeming-
to, you have to actually approve the
resolution.
resolution.
Oh, yes.
Oh, 11:19.
11:19.
Oh, I didn't include it in your packet, did I?
No, you didn't.
No,
Sorry.
it's, what
What
was
is the
online.
proposed
It was
budget?
You
online?
emailed it
Okay.
to us.
That's right, I've seen it, so.
All right.
no.
Sorry about that.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, second,
Second.
all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Okay.
Do you have to really adopt the $0 budget? Yes,
Technically.
you
Well,
do.
I
I
guess
guess you do.
Let's just, end this meeting, then we'll talk.
Okay.
So it'll be a motion to close the meeting. Economic
Make a
Development
motion to
Corporation.
close.
Second,
Second.
all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
That's
Thank you.
6:17 PM. Okay.
Okay.
Ruby,